Aries, Dadhichi here with your March 2018 update. It's a brief look at the position of the planets and how they may indeed affect you over the coming 1 month. And what we notice straight off is this very formidable triangular shape here, what we call a grand trine, between this, what could be considered a bit of a destabilizing force, which has been there for a few years in your sun sign, but really being activated now by Mars, and also the position of the moon and the north node here. The moon has just passed through that orb, and it is going to take its energy straight into the 6th house of workplace activities and routine on March 2nd, and form a very bright full moon here in your 6th house, opposing all of this 12th house activity. 6th house has to do with, yes, your routine, but it has a lot to say about the way you serve people and the way you selflessly give of your time and your energy and your resources. This 12th house of Pisces is also showing a similar thing. And here you're more likely to get yourself in trouble, and that's likely because of the weight of all these planets in the 12th house. Expending yourself, spreading yourself very thin in areas, trying to satisfy everyone else except yourself. And that's where this Mars-Uranus energy is important, so that you can dynamically, I guess, direct that energy into the proper channels and give yourself quite a bit of time. This 6th house has to do with health, debts, diseases and costs associated with those sorts of things. And here also we see the opposition to these planets: 12th house of expenses, 3rd house of communication and health, and then your 7th house ruler, which is Venus, your planet of love, and then the moon moving into that area after the 4th, through the 4th, 5th, up until the 6th, and even beyond that we see that relationships are going to be an important component, and there, that rather destabilizing influence that I'm talking about in the area of your relationships is sure to have an impact on you. So we see that it's important for you to really have a good plan. That will start with this 6th house transit, and by getting that in order, you're going to have the requisite energy, emotional vibe to deal with these partnership issues that are certain after the 3rd and 4th. The 8th house, as we can see here, has to do with your sexual and intimate affairs, and also some of the banking aspects of your life, dealing with your bank manager, your retirement fund, investment finances, and also gambling to some extent. You can see here the right angle around the 6th, which is not altogether the best arrangement for any sort of punting. The moon and Jupiter, however, are fairly lucky, and then the moon moves into the 9th house there around the 8th. So that can bring back a little bit of luck, and there's some nice aspects forming there. This one here is a little bit problematic, if you allow it. This can show that you're very, very impulsive. Here we also notice that just prior to this date, the transit of Venus and Mercury into your sun sign, which is a very nice energy. It also helps you in terms of your communication with your relationships, and that's happening just there around the 6th and 7th. At that time when there's that sexual and intimate contact with the moon, then Jupiter, lucky Jupiter. These are all lucky planets for you. Venus and Mercury, not necessarily, but in the natural scheme of things, they are considered fortuitous planets to have there. Especially now, after the 7th and 8th, you can really make your mark upon the world. But coming back to this Moon and Mars combination around the 9th and 10th, just be careful that you don't push others too hard. We see here Moon moving to your 10th house around the 11th, and that has a close contact with Saturn around the 10th and the 11th. This happens every month, but right now we see the challenges you have to Venus and Mercury. You may well be charming and engaging with other people, But it's also important to note that you're not going to be able to ride on the back of that without putting in the requisite work here in your 10th house, as you can see. There, Moon and Pluto, indicating a very powerful will and drive, and the political issues that may arise at that time in your workplace. A more social note here around the 13th, when the Moon moves into your 11th house of friendships. That's against the backdrop of this very, very intense and tight square from Mercury first to Saturn, then Venus. So these are always problematic in terms of expressing your feelings, feeling comfortable in any sort of relationship, communicating, because Mercury has to do with your thinking and your expression. So the interaction there with Saturn at the upper part of the chart it pulls you back a little bit, and makes you a little bit cool, possibly aloof in your relationships. This could relate to business partnerships, but I'm extending that to the notion of your personal relationships as well. Contacting old friends here is shown by the combination of the Moon and Ketu, and I'm looking here at the significant transit of your ruling planet in the upper part of the horoscope, just here in the middle of the month. And the other thing that's important around this time, and it's going to coincide with Mars moving to your career sector, is this new moon that's taking place in this 12th house, which bit of a throwback to the very earlier part of the month where the moon was actually here in your 6th house of service. So this new moon actually shows us a very refreshing way to approach not just your relationships, but also the way you're helping people generally. It's also a sector of expense, as also indicated, but the contact here with Neptune can cause you to be somewhat unsettled and a little bit confused about the way forward there. Again, don't rely wholly and solely on these really, really easy planets to help you through, because this could confuse you and you may be putting your eggs in the wrong basket at this time. Let's watch how the Moon and the Sun towards the latter part of the month form a massive configuration of planets. I think someone wants to talk to me here. Would you like to come here and ask me a question? It's my daughter off to the side, getting a little bit impatient. What's going on?
Because my battery is lying down because it's already 30%.
I'll help your battery in about 2 minutes. We're not going to be long, okay? Just be patient. So folks, that huge combination of planets. You see here the Moon and Uranus, Mercury and Venus all combining here. Now these are rather nice in terms of your amorous pursuits, your creative pursuits, your ability to connect with the general public at large, as shown by the North Node here. But you still have this stress from your work, and Mars around the 19th moving into this very significant career area causes a lot of frustration in your work over the next month or two. So that's what I'm saying. You can enjoy yourself with all of these planets in your sun sign. Very sociable indeed. The Sun, of course, makes you popular. But that's not going to be enough to give you the relief that you need from the problems here you may be having with your employer or the work itself. And we've touched on that over the previous year or so, and hinted at that being the case as Saturn moves through this career area. Domestic issues may also be a problem towards the very last few days of the month, as the Moon opposes Saturn and Mars, squares all of these planets. That's a pretty tough couple of days there for you, 24, 25, 26. A little bit more ease on the emotions at the 28th and 29th, although you'll still be a little bit worried. But generally I think this part of the month, even towards the very end, is not going to give you the relief you want until April, because Mars is still here, edging closer and closer to Saturn. You need to control your words, you need to control your actions, and you need to just be calm and relaxed as the month comes to its conclusion. Take a look at what we have in store for you at astrology.com.au with the month in focus, the day in focus, and of course we have the full year in focus there if you'd like to check that out. Yours truly, plus a lot of our other really, really great practitioners who are there to help you on a face-to-face, one-on-one basis if that's what you need. And until next month, have a good one. Take care now. Bye-bye.